Hi, Fiends. Welcome to DonnaJean's Coffee House of Horror. Thank you for joining me for part 2 of my interview with Monique Dupree. Here, I got you a cup of joe, so pull up a chair and join me. You know, I was thinking today how much I miss conventions and my con family and just running into everybody and how things are really not the same. So I'm really glad we can get together this way. But then Monique posted a flyer today that on September 5th, she's going to be in Atlantic City with Tommy Dreamer. So keep your eyes open. Maybe look up Monique Dupree's page, either on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. And this is really fitting because today Monique is going to talk about her family and how much it means to her, and also about her wrestling family and how much that means to her. And she's truly an inspiration, that this is not only something she loves and has a passion for, but that it's a real release for her. And I learned so much about it that I think I want to watch her do it. So join me and let's check it out.
So wrestling, that has been a part of my life since I'm like 9 years old. But I wasn't introduced in like a most positive way. So I used to have to record the shows for my mother and on VHS. This is where we're going. This is how far back.
I get it.
He would tell me, you have to take out the commercials. So I would have to watch it and wait until you knew a commercial was coming, pause it, and then watch it until you thought the commercial, the show was starting again, and then start it. That was how I truly started watching wrestling, because I would watch sometimes with my great grandmother. She watched wrestling in black and white, and I don't even know like what channel or what she was watching, but she was the woman that also introduced me to the Honeymooners and how I became a Trekkie and stuff like that, was my great grandmother. So she was watching wrestling, and I was like, she's watching these guys, in black and white, like throw each other around. It's just so kind of hokey to me.
Right.
And then I had to start, basically edit. I was basically an editor for her through VHS, because, like I said, you're watching this, and she would put like 4 shows onto one VHS tape. And I really started watching it, and I was like, this is pretty cool. And I needed a form of escapism because, I didn't have like a great childhood sometimes. So I needed that escapism, and it was so exciting to me. And I was like, oh my God. And this guy is angry with this guy, and he took her girl. And then I saw a woman named Miss Elizabeth. And Miss Elizabeth was a manager for Macho Man Randy Savage. And I was enamored with Miss Elizabeth. I wanted to be her. I really wanted to be her. And that was kind of how my love for wrestling started to brew. I had never, as an adolescent, been able to go to a wrestling show. Like most fans talk about their first show when they were a kid, or when they were little, or even when they were a teenager. I never got that experience. I would just watch on television, and that was it. So they were just larger than life characters on TV that I would never get to see and or meet. The first wrestler I ever actually met was through horror. And it was, oh my God. First I met Mick Foley through one of the conventions I did. It was like a horror and sci-fi convention.
Right, they mix a lot. Yeah.
Yes. And I met him, and I told him how much of a fan I was. I think that was Novi, Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm getting like emotional. But like I got to meet some of the people that I truly kind of idolized through horror, and work with them because I'm a celebrity guest and they're a celebrity guest. So I'm like,
right.
How am I standing next to you, dude? Like, I watched you do so much. And this went on for quite some time, like back and forth until I think that I can't remember the first show that I had gone to, but I know that I was an adult and I had already had a couple of children already. And my daughter, my oldest, Monet, had always wanted to be a wrestler as well, for as long as she could remember. Just, she's always loved wrestling. So her first wrestling show, she went with her father because I couldn't afford to go too. So instead of me taking her, I thought it would be like a nice bonding experience between them, even though I really wanted to go.
Right.
So
as a mother, that's what you do, to sacrifice for them.
Absolutely. So that was an opportunity that I could have gone, but I didn't go. But my first time going, we went to a house show, which is just a show that's not televised. And I went with my daughter, and that's when I started to meet some of the wrestlers. And then we started getting into WrestleMania, which is like the Super Bowl of wrestling. Right. So the first WrestleMania, my 12-year-old was a baby. That was the first WrestleMania I had ever gone to. And he went with us as a baby. Amazing. And now here comes 2011. And we go to our next WrestleMania together, myself and my daughter. And that's when we meet one Mr. Tommy Dreamer, who is responsible for everything else that happened subsequently in my wrestling career, so to speak, if you can call it that. I don't like to say I have a wrestling career because I've only been involved in wrestling since 2013. But I guess you can call it, I don't know. Do you call it I don't know.
I would.
I don't know.
Involved with it as long as you have, and you have it as a part of your resume, and people know you as being involved with wrestling. Yeah, you can.
That's true too. That's one of those things, like I told you, I don't really know where I stand a lot of the times with things, and I don't want to try to make anything sound bigger than it is.
One of the things that I have come to love about you is you don't put things or yourself into a box.
No, I
There's
can't.
No label, you just do it.
I have a hard time with boxes. And it's one of the things I try to teach my children. One of the biggest things that I try to teach them is to think outside of the box. You know, we're put in this box and we're supposed to stay in there. But when you think outside of it, there's so many other opportunities and loopholes, if you will, to life and to things and to ways to live life. Like actually live life. I don't mean exist. I mean live life. Because we've had to think outside the box a lot because we've been broke most of our lives because we have 10 children. And you just keep having children. And even if you start to have a monochrome of success financially, okay, then another child comes along. And,
you have 10 children.
There's no more money. So we've always had to struggle, but think outside of the box in order to make things work. And I always said, I know that my children aren't like wealthy with money, but they've accrued so much wealth in terms of love and knowledge and openness and things of that nature. And that's all I've ever tried to do. And of course, parenting doesn't come with a manual. So
Isn't that the truth?
You mess up all the time. And I always joke with them, even though I said it's true. I said, okay, with the first like 3 or 4 of y'all, I messed up horribly. But then I started getting the hang of it by like the 5th one. It's horrible to say, but it's so true. Because you get your first, your second, your third even, and you're still trying to figure it out. I was still trying to, I don't know about anybody else. I was still trying to figure it out because.
Well, I only have one. And really, I only have one because I've been a type 1 diabetic my whole life. Right. And my daughter was born 10 days after I turned 18, but I was in the hospital the last month and she was a 7-month baby. So really, she's the reason she's one. But I've always thought that, you know, if you had more than one, you might be a good parent to that one because you get to know each other as they're growing up. Absolutely. But if you have another child and they have a different personality and you had 10,
that's what I'm saying.
Having to relearn.
And then some of them have a lot of personalities. I always say my Gemini has way more than one personality. He's so many different people. It just depends on what day it is. So there's so many personalities that you have to learn, and that's where schooling comes in. And because I had a lot of my children early, some were born with disabilities, you know, like ADHD. Like my daughter had severe ADHD. We had gone through 2 weeks of testing for her, and they were like she was one of the most severe cases that they had seen. And that was when they were going to school, and she couldn't sit down. She would get up and walk around the classroom and tear pieces of paper. She would write her name backwards perfectly. But she did everything. Like when she took a test, she could take the test orally, but if she had to write down the answers, she would fail it. So they were just like, we're going to have to put her in special education. And, you know, it just like, there's a story behind why I started not homeschooling, but unschooling, because I don't technically homeschool, I unschool. There was a reason why I had to do all of that. And I tried you know, what they wanted to do. And then they put her on medicine, and then she was a different person. And I just couldn't continue that route, but I didn't know what to do. And I said it was the wrong decision to pull them out of school. And then I pulled my hair out for like the first 3 years and started to get the hang of it. But also the trip up is that the state doesn't help you at all with any money to school your children with. So if you decide to homeschool, you are responsible for all of the supplies, all of the everything. So if you don't have the money to pay for things, you have to, there you go, think outside the box again.
Outside the box.
Because they are given a certain amount of money per child per year for supplies and, you know, for teachers and for everything. When you homeschool, to me, that's their way of punishing you. They're like, all right, well, you get no money, no resources, nothing. We just say, here you go, teach your child. That's it. That's all you get. So it's been, that just goes back to me saying I've had to learn how to think outside the box all throughout my life. Because if I didn't, I would really be completely insane right now. I mean, I would be completely insane right now.
And it's hard enough when you're questioning is what I'm doing right, when there is no manual, let alone having somebody with special needs and wondering, am I doing this right? And having any funding cut.
Right.
Which seems to be what happens, you know?
It's absolutely what happens. And I have 5 of them that, you know, have like different abilities, special abilities, as far as like, you know, severe dyslexia, which they get from my husband. So, and that I didn't even know how bad that could get with dyslexia. Like, I really didn't know. I knew from him, but he wasn't as bad as our sons. And it seems to be the boys that it affects more than the girls. And for me, But yeah, it just gets to be so much. But I feel like throughout our lives, the things that we've done in terms of entertainment has sort of helped give my children and myself a little more focus. Like even doing the film life, when I used to do conventions, they would go with me to conventions and they would,
I want to see you at a convention.
Yeah. Oh my, I'm so surprised that we haven't, because for a few years, I was doing maybe 12 conventions a year. I would do mostly sci-fi and horror conventions, but then later on it started morphing into mostly wrestling conventions.
Well, let's make a deal, because when we're allowed to start doing conventions again, my intention with my YouTube show here, DonnaJean's Coffee House of Horror, is to be able to go to conventions and to be doing the interviews there, because that's actually what I started doing a couple of years ago. So let's make a deal that when that happens, we're going to do an interview at the convention.
Yes, deal. I would love that. I used to do stuff like that all the time. Like I even did 2 cameos at a horror convention one time.
Oh.
Like I forget what his name was, or what his name is, but there was somebody that came up to me and he said, "I know that you cost a lot, Miss Dupree, and I know you're probably busy, but you know, we would love for you to do a cameo in our movies. Like we just really don't have a budget." And I was like, "Okay, I'll do it." We
they
can
were
do it,
talking
right?
to the right woman with the right heart.
Yeah, and so we ended up just doing something small, and but those are the things that I'm talking about. Like to me, it was better to just go, "Okay, I'll do this," instead of, "Guys, I'm in the middle of a live interview, okay? Okay, thank you," because you're talking across right here, like right here in this space. Meanwhile, I'm right here and I can't move anywhere, okay? I'm actually in their space, if I want to be honest, because I have a whole like gym built for them over here. So I'm kind of sitting next to their little gym area, our workout area.
Well, we can get towards wrapping it up soon so they can have their world back.
They're fine. My 7-year-old is actually just sitting and taking in what I'm saying. They've watched me interview.
You know, they can come over and say hello. That's, if you would want them to, that's not a problem.
You want to say hello? Come here. Come say hello real quick. Come on. Quickly.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Oh man, you did the wrong thing. You said,
oh,
okay.
Look at that, beautiful faces.
7-year-old face, 11-year-old face, 10-year-old face.
Well, those are beautiful faces.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, now you guys can go. I love you.
Mommy, a hug for you.
Okay. Oh, he's giving me a hug for you.
Thank you. That means so much to me, because I really would love to give your mom a hug in person.
Oh, and I would love to give you a hug in person too. Thank you for that too. So they're probably gonna leave me alone now that they got to come say hi, because they got to be center of attention.
That actually was beautiful for me. Thank you.
Yeah, they're all off doing their own things, and but my 7-year-old normally stays up under me because, well, you know, I used to travel a lot before COVID. Yeah. And since COVID, I only mostly go to New York, where I have an apartment, to do a lot of my filming for movies, because I've been doing a lot of green screen filming since. And I recently did a music video, and I forgot all about that. I did a green screen music video while I was with my current boyfriend at his house, and then did a photo shoot behind it for it. So I don't know when that music video is actually dropping, but I forgot that I did one.
Well, I'll have to keep an eye on your site so I can see that when it comes out.
Absolutely. I got to film it myself. I pretty much had to do everything, you know, do the outfitting and of course the makeup, and they just said, I said, "What do you want me to do?" He said, "I don't know, just be you." I was like, I need some direction. He said, "No, whatever you do is fine. Like, we love your vibe and everything." So I was like, okay. So I just put some stuff together to do. So that was another thing that I did. I think that was like my 4th music video I've ever done before.
Awesome.
But I do have to say, out of everything, I do come alive when I walk out of that curtain and see those wrestling fans. And I'm the heel, I'm the bad guy, so they're always booing me, and I get the best feeling from that. I don't know why. It's like when I played a bad guy in a movie, because I'm pretty much typecast, and I'm so good with being I'm okay with being typecast. I know that some people will offer me other roles and stuff, but I feel like that typecasting went on into wrestling and followed me there.
Okay.
And so now I'm always the heel. And when I come out of the curtain with my daughter, whether it's with my daughter or, you know, with the wrestler, and we're walking and they're booing and like you just see them doing this in front of your face, I feel I come alive.
It is just fun, it sounds like.
Yes, it's just something that turns on inside me, and it gives me the opportunity to be a bitch. And I get to exercise that and get paid at the same time. So it's kind of like I can woosah it out through wrestling, if you will. I think maybe that's why I like it, but I love it. I thrive off of it.
Oh, and that's beautiful.
I never thought that anything would come close to filming, like, because I love, you know, being in films, but that is such a second close, because like the hairs on my arm, like everything stands up, and I'm just so in awe of I'm doing this. Like, I can't believe it. It's
so
such
a great feeling.
So the wrestling
is your thing. That's your release, it sounds like.
It is my release. And then the other part of my release is, I feel like on my resume, I could put being a mother of 10 as a way of saying I could multitask and such. Yes. Because Tommy hired me to do a lot of behind the scenes stuff for him for his promotion, House of Hardcore, as well as his podcast, House of Hardcore podcast. So I'm normally the woman running all around at the show behind the scenes. And then I have to go, to the ring, do my spots, come back, and then finish working behind the scenes. So it's like I'm doing a little bit of everything. So that's like production work, and I don't know, it's just so many different titles in one, but I do all of that. And I complain about it beforehand, but while I'm doing it, I don't have time to think about anything. And then afterwards, I look at everything and I go, wow, the stuff that I did helped this show happen.
Now, the House of Hardcore is still on, correct?
Yeah, as far as I know, he hasn't said anything different. It's just that we haven't been able to do anything because we're an independent promotion. So we're not funded by anybody. And with COVID, we can't really, we rely on the audience. We rely on those ticket sales and such. And so without that, we can't really run shows right now.
Is there anywhere, if anybody who's watching the interview wants to find out if it's current and happening, is there a website that they can go into to check?
Absolutely. They can go to houseofhardcore.net and always check. When in doubt, if they check any of my stuff, I'm always talking about wrestling and House of Hardcore, mostly the podcast now, because the podcast is still going on. And he's given me some creative control with that, which is why, I don't know if you saw, I cut this little promo for him, kind of based off the Warriors.
I did. I loved it.
I said, I just want to do something kind of different for it. And he said, I just need you to say boppers, because I love when Lynn Thigpen said boppers.
Please join us Wednesday when Monique will talk in depth about her directing and about the very difficult but very important subject of Black Lives Matter. See you then.